Alright, hello and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel and this is your weekend deep dive TA analysis video. Uncle Camel, the uncle of last resort, was indeed successful yesterday. I managed to get to the beach, wear the kids out and bring them back all in one piece. So happy days there. I have, however, not been able to allocate positions like I wanted to, but this is just the way Sod's Law works, unfortunately. We'll get to the charts in just a minute. For now, I wanted to point out a couple of things. Look, we know from the last couple of weeks that BlackRock wants a Bitcoin ETF, so does Fidelity, a whole heap of other institutions looking to capitalize on this spot Bitcoin ETF approval as well. We've also seen banks buying MicroStrategy as a proxy for Bitcoin. We also saw Saylor of MicroStrategy add even more Bitcoin to his stack and now sits at over 150k Bitcoin for MicroStrategy, as well as North Carolina passing a bill to explore holding Bitcoin in their own treasury to quote unquote hedge against inflation risk. And so with all that said, remember, there really is not enough Bitcoin to go around. There's only 1.88 million Bitcoin left on exchanges. And to really understand and internalize just how scarce that is, if 20 million people tried to buy just 0.1 Bitcoin each, they simply couldn't. So with the likes of BlackRock, Fidelity, all of these have trillions of dollars under management. There's just simply no way that there's enough Bitcoin to go around. The price is going to have to be orders of magnitude higher. And with that as the preface, it kind of makes sense, doesn't it, that we're seeing more FUD come out. The SEC has come out and said that the spot Bitcoin filings are inadequate, according to the Wall Street Journal. But when you dig a little bit deeper, this of course is FUD. This, of course, is just a shakeout because there's not enough Bitcoin to go around. Expect to see more and more shakeouts. They're going to keep trying to shake the tree as much as they can to force people to panic sell their Bitcoin so that they can accumulate more and use it to back their spot Bitcoin ETFs that are coming. When you dig a little bit deeper into this, what you find is all the BlackRock or Fidelity or any of these ETF applicants have to do is jumble the wording around slightly and resubmit it. So I hope no one that panic sold their Bitcoin in the face of this. The Bitcoin ETF is coming. The spot-driven ETFs are coming. It's just a matter of time. So, of course, the tree shake did tree shake things to the price of Bitcoin. As you can see, we had these big Darth Maul wicks. Ultimately, we're still sat right around the mean for the week, right around where we started the week for the price of Bitcoin. But zooming out, remember, June's close of $30,469 was the highest monthly close in 13 months. So Bitcoin continues to do Bitcoin things, smoothing out the noise, zooming out, gaining a long-term perspective enables us to sit back and relax knowing that Bitcoin is going to continue to do Bitcoin things. As I said in yesterday's video, we had the inflation data come out, the PCE, and it was cold, it was lower than expected. So inflation is still coming down. And of course that did, as I suggested yesterday, act as a bullish catalyst for risk assets. So the dollar again rejected at resistance, likely going to roll over now, likely going to come down to this blue zone that I've been eyeing up for some time. And I think now is the time that we're going to finally break this level and make our way down to the mid-90s, which I will consider target acquired, mission accomplished, if you will, because that's what I've been targeting since the highs back here. So once we get down to 95, I would consider that target met. I know some people have much lower targets down at the high 80s. Personally, I'll believe it if I see it. I'll be open to everything, but we'll just use the trend lines to tell us when this trend is reversed, right? For now, in the short to medium term, I do expect this to kind of chop down here and then come down into the mid-90s. And whilst that happens, expect risk to go insane. So also, as I covered yesterday, here's gold. I was talking about it's right in the timing window to find a swing, and that seems to be what we've got here. So unless we can break out this downward sloping blue resistance line, I'll continue to push this short. If, however, we get a daily closing candle above this blue downward sloping resistance line, then I'll close this short and I'll actually flip long. So that's likely coming by the looks of things. Here's silver. Is silver going to do what I thought, which is come down and run the lows, or is it going to break out? If it breaks out prematurely, or at least before this level down here, that's fine. We'll add the long for silver. So expect that to be coming in the not too distant future. But I do want to proceed with caution here because it's perfectly reasonable to expect gold to do something like this and then roll over one last time into that weekly and next daily cycle low before it turns around. So this could be the moment, or we could have one more flush. So we'll use the trend lines as always to let us know how to navigate gold and silver. But either way, when these finally break out, whenever that is, whether that is this week or in a few weeks time, whenever they finally go, I do believe then silver is going to attack this $30 range and then some. And I do believe gold will grind its way up to its all-time high range and then crack that and make its way up to 3K So we might have a little bit more working out to do, but I think the end is near for this correction in the precious metals. Is the S&P 500. I was talking yesterday about likely having to call this an early day cycle, an early 35-day cycle low, and then move to playing this market from here. So we've clearly closed above the level I identified. I have to only assume now that this is day 4 of a new cycle, and therefore we should expect some follow through to come over the next days and weeks. So unfortunately for me, even though we had the levels, even though I wanted to sort this out, I was far too busy yesterday, so I haven't actually added a position. Although, like I said, once we got above this level, that would have been the trigger for the long if I was at my computer. But sometimes life gets in the way. It's kind of the same deal for the Nasdaq, right? So we've clearly got breakout, retest, and a big strong push off as a resumption for the Nasdaq. Not much of a correction, but as far as I can tell, this looks like we got a new cycle in play. Again, it would have been nice to be able to add this level. I did identify that a close above 15150 would be the trigger for a long. But again, I was on the beach with kids, so I couldn't really do anything with this. I will be looking to add exposure for the Nasdaq and perhaps the Dow on Monday's session. So hopefully we can get some kind of pullback, some kind of correction, but I would likely think we're just going to go full bore bullish melt up at this point. Here's the Dow Jones. So likely we've got a new cycle in play for the Dow Jones. We've still got opportunity here. So a break above this level here, and I can put a long on something like that. So that's what I'm looking to do this week. I'll be looking to add the exposure and then target new highs for the Dow in this final portion of the rally. I've still got this VIX hedge on. It's not really doing much, as you can see, and I would likely think we're going to have to pay a stop on this and bleed lower. But once we get eventually much further down, then I'm sure the VIX will finally turn around. Apple continues to be a super performing stock. Look at it go. So not much more to say about that, apart from long and strong continue to push. We could probably extend these trend lines out a bit more, something like that. So all the while we're above these, then we'll just keep pushing this long. I would think probably 200 will play a role as a psychological level, so there'll probably be some level of resistance here, but it's the same deal, isn't it? All the while we're above that, we'll keep pushing the long. Tesla, has Tesla bounced out of here? Is this going to be what plays now? Are we, instead of going to come down lower like I thought with that undercut for the S&P 500 cycle, are we just going to have to redraw this trend line from where we are? So I think for now, we'll adjust this to here. This seems insanely steep, but if this has got some catching up to do, then maybe it's not super steep. I think if you're not in already, you could certainly add a long here and target something like this. I think that would be an absolutely valid trade. This could, of course, still roll over and set a much less steep angle of attack, and then we'll end up drawing the trend line something more like this. That would be more reasonable. So you have to be open to anything. If it takes a couple of stabs, it takes a couple of stabs, right? But overall, still got the exposure, still got plenty of stocks doing well. So happy days. If I get rid of these squiggles so we can see what's going on, you can see we've got this big Darth Maul wick from Bitcoin. It's still kind of doing a whole heap of nothing, isn't it? So I know myself included and a lot of you would like to see a rollover before we go again. Of course, if we can get something like this, that can certainly be a buy the dip scenario from me. But I'm also keeping a clear eye on this because if it can break out of the top of this range, then I likely think we're going to see 34 to 36k shortly thereafter. Still got my Ethereum trade. Ethereum kind of looks like it wants higher from here, so long and strong continue to push. XRP down towards the bottom end of this range, so it is what it is. We'll see what goes on here. If we do have to pay a stop, then we'll re-enter on the downsloping red resistance line break. And finally, the crypto-related equities. So Coinbase, not really much to say about this, apart from long and strong continue to push. It's broken out. It's probably going to get hung up in this blue zone. And from there, we'll get our answer on whether or not this is going to actually be a true range breakout. MicroStrategy doing pretty well, isn't it? So again, we had these big shakeouts on the SEC FUD, but I suspect this is just going to continue to move higher. Second position for Riot, we're still outside the trend line break, so it's still valid. Long and strong, continue to push. And Marathon still blasting off higher. I don't like to chase this kind of move, so we'll just drag this over a bit. Still looking for a second position if we can get one. But for now, I think just long and strong continue to push, and I suspect 18 to 20 is coming for Marathon in the not too distant future. So overall, not too bad. Still looking to add a bit more Bitcoin exposure if we can get a bull flag break or a nice dip to buy. I'll be looking to put some positions on Monday for the Nasdaq, the Dow, and possibly adding to the S&P. I will post these to Twitter live when I do it, and of course I'll update it in the video. It really depends on the price action. If everything gaps up massively on Monday, then I don't like to buy gapped up things because typically the gaps will backfill. So hopefully we don't gap up too much. Hopefully maybe we even get a little pullback and then we can get in on the pullback. It's a shame because, like I said, I gave you the levels in the morning. I said if we close above there, that can be the triggers for the longs across the board. We closed above all those levels, so I should have been able to put the positions on. But like I said, sometimes, occasionally, life gets in the way. But overall, got plenty of exposure across the board. I think we're probably going to end up seeing a lot more bullishness coming out of these markets And by the end of the week, we should have a read on whether or not this cycle for the stock market is going to potentially present us with a significant decline into a weekly cycle low before we go. So I'll cover that in the week, but as always, one step at a time. For now, we'll see what Monday brings. We have, of course, the stock market closed on the Tuesday, so we might have to navigate a bit of randomness in the market. But as always, I'll continue to update you. So make sure you're subscribed, make sure you turn the notifications on, and most importantly, make sure you enjoy the rest of your weekend. So until next time, take care from me. All the best. Cheers. Bye.